Good morning again, everybody. Today we are going to be looking at section 12 of your notes, and this one is on mold forming, which is using some sort of a mold, bowls, plates, whatever it might be, in order to create something similar to that out of clay rather than whatever you're using. And so what we're going to be using today is a plastic mold, and this is my Halloween themed mold. I don't know if you can see this all that well, but it's all spider webby and it's got spiders on it, and hopefully it'll work out in that I get a nice smooth inside of my bowl, and then the outside will have that spider web and spider pattern on it, because the spiders are even on the inside as well, so they should make good indentations on the bowl itself when it goes in. I don't know how well this is going to work out, but we'll see what happens. Now, you can use all different types of materials for your bowls. This is plastic. Plastic's not the best, but it works. You can use plaster, which is like this, and this is good because it's so porous that the clay doesn't stick to it. It just kind of absorbs some of the water. It's also really good for drying your clay into a leather hard state, which you're going to want to do anyway, because it kind of draws the water out and it gives it a real nice consistent dryness on the outside. And again, it doesn't stick, which is really great. But if you're going to use something other than plaster, you can use a metal bowl like this or like that. You can use, like I said, plastic bowls. We've got plastic bowls all around here. You can use a bowl like this, just these little simple plastic picnic bowls. They're really easy. But if you do that, you need to line your bowl with a paper towel or saran wrap or some kind of plastic wrap or something like that, because otherwise your clay really will stick to it. It's almost impossible to get it out. You'll end up peeling it out in pieces, and you don't want to end up having to do that if you've done all this work. So today I am using a plastic bowl, but because this one has all of these openings in it, it's not really solid. The clay's not going to stick to it real well. And my clay's a little dry, again, as usual. So it's probably not going to stick to it very well. But that's also going to make it a little bit hard to work with. So we'll see how it works out. We'll see what happens. And that's one thing about pottery that you got to know. You never know how things are going to work out, and you just got to see what happens. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to see what happens. Maybe we'll end up with a bowl as ugly as the box from last time around, but we never know. Okay, so I'm going to go through the steps on your form, your notes, so that you know what the right answers are. So mold forming is using a mold such as a bowl or a plate, to help guide the shape of a project. The best material for molds is plaster, like I showed you, because it naturally absorbs moisture from the clay, allowing you to remove it from the clay quicker. However, even mold material such as plastic can be used if you separate it from your clay with a paper towel. Okay, and then obviously you should wait until your clay dries to leather hard before removing it from the mold. Now, one thing you do need to keep in mind when you are making a mold, or using a mold to make a bowl, you want to use the inside of the bowl, because clay naturally shrinks as it dries, which means if you put it on the outside, then it is going to break as it dries, because as it's shrinking on the outside, it'll start pulling apart and breaking. And you don't want that to happen. You want it to be on the inside, so that when it starts shrinking, it actually kind of pulls itself together. It's just the opposite of being on the outside. So let's see what we can do with this one, and we'll find out what happens. Now, I've rolled out a slab of clay right here already, and I'm going to try to mold it into my bowl and see what happens with that. So I've got a nice big slab of clay right here. I'm going to drop it right on top and see how well I can get it to fit in here. It's not going to be very cooperative, I don't think, but we'll see how it goes. So you want to just lay it in there gently if you can. Remember that everything that doesn't get smoothed out at first can get smoothed out later. So all these little fingerprints that I'm putting in here are going to be taken care of later. And with this one, I do want to get it in nice and snug, because I want to get the pattern from that spider web and all those spiders in there as well. So I'm already getting a few little cracks down the middle of it, but I can take care of those. And that has to do with the slab that I was using and the fact that this clay is a bit dry. So I'm working it into my bowl. And actually, if you'd like, when you're pressing it in like this, I don't know how well you can see this, but my fingerprints are making a pattern of their own on the inside, and if you like that, you could keep it and make that a part of your design. I'm probably not going to want to do that. And I'm going to turn it over real quick just to see how it's looking on the outside so far. So careful, remember, every time you're doing anything like this, you got to give it good support wherever you are. And you can see that I'm pretty well full in there. I still got a little pressing around the top to get done, but it looks to me like I might actually end up with a decent pattern on the outside. And as usual, because I'm doing a demo with you and you're having to just watch this on a screen, I'm going a little bit more quickly than I normally would. I'm not being quite as careful or detailed as I would if I were actually doing this as a serious bowl that I was going to be using or giving to someone. So now I've got my bowl pretty well filled in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this rib tool and I'm going to trim it off just along the ridges. And if you remember, this has kind of a scalloped ridge to it. So I'm just going to come down here and follow that ridge. And there we go. So now I can really start working it in there. And remember that I'm going to be smoothing all of this out eventually, so I'll have nice, smooth ridges and edges. And I can take a look at the outside and see how it's looking again. Make sure I got it all where I want it. And because I rolled this slab out evenly when I started, it's going to be a nice 1/4 inch thickness all the way through, just the way I want it to be. So now I can see that all the way around. I hope you can see that this is really filling in here very nicely. It's going to be actually a lot better than I had expected. Now the next thing I would do is look for a rib, or I can probably use this tool. Something smooth. I've got a smooth edged wooden tool here, and I can use this to just smooth my edges out, get rid of all those fingerprints that I had in there. And I prefer to use my fingers on things like this quite frequently because I get a better feel for things. But I think you get the point with that. So rather than you watch me do this over and over again, I think I'll leave this bowl for now and maybe finish it up when I'm done here. So I'm going to set this to the side. And then one other thing I wanted to say to you about this is, and this is for the fourth part of your notes, you can press in different shapes or coil formations to create a unique bowl. And I have one example of something like this. Now you could make a bowl like this, kind of looks like the Incredible Hulk. No, not the Hulk. What's he called? The Rock, I think. No, not the Rock. Hey, what's that guy called?
From what?
The guy from, that superhero guy that's all rocks.
Oh, I can't remember. I know who you're talking about. He's just made of a rock.
Yeah, he's just like all rocks. He looks like this thing.
Gosh, he does. I have no idea his name.
Okay,
though.
it's not the Hulk and it's not the Rock, but it's, you know, the guy I'm talking about. Look at that. That looks just like him, right? Okay. Anyway, you can do that, and that's an easy thing to do. You can just take your excess clay and I think this is pretty obvious. Take some balls of this stuff. And roll it up. Put one ball in your bowl. Press that in there. Take another one. Roll it out. And press that in there. You get the picture, right? And then once you've got that whole thing filled in with all these little balls of clay, the great thing about this is you don't have to score it or slip it because you're pressing them all in there so nicely and tightly together. And then you're going to be wetting or smoothing them all together as one big piece. And if you do that, you don't have to stick them together with slip and score. So that's good. You're blending it all inside. And then when you're done, you'll have this sort of a texture on the outside. So you can have a smooth inside and a rough outside. All right, so there's that. So for your fourth step in your notes, make sure you lay your shapes very close together because you're going to be blending them together. After all shapes are laid in, blend the insides of the clay by roughing up the surface and then smoothing it with serrated and smooth rib tools. A good way to do that is to just rough it up with the rib tool. That kind of gives everything a blended feel, and then you can smooth it out either, like I said, I like to use my hands, or you can use a smoother tool like I was just doing with the other one and smooth that out. Attaching shapes in a mold is a unique attachment process that does not require you to score and slip, as I was saying. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up my spider bowl, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to give you some time to work on your notes, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to show you my spider bowl next time around. But for now, that's that for mold forming. That's your 12th set of notes. So let's see, 10, 11, 12 will be due after we get this one done. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time.